Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here today. We are going to have a work session today for February 2nd, 2026. As we start the work session, I'm going to start by asking everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag stands one nation under God. All right, so we have a pretty action-packed work session meeting, but before we even start on town business, we do have some proclamations to give this afternoon. So the Snyder Track and Field is here. It was founded 5 years ago in the town of Amherst by Kelsey Ryan and Pete Gratian, and was quickly developed into a premier program for the young Western New York track and field athletes. The program began, as a lot of things did, as a pandemic project of small classes at the Harlem Road Community Center, and it has grown to an expansive offerings of camps, classes, private coaching, clinics, club teams, and more. They opened their facility in the village of Williamsville in 2024 and are also offering satellite programs in Orchard Park, Hamburg, Tonawanda, Buffalo, and Rochester. And the Snyder Track and Field works with about a thousand athletes a year. So whether they're running to just have fun, looking to exercise, or working towards being an elite competitor, the Snyder Track and Field is a place for everyone. The Snyder Track and Field 2025 cross-country program started with 60 incredible athletes who supported each other through tough workouts and even tougher conditions. They truly embraced the cross-country as a team sport, focusing on team scoring, meeting every challenge with a smile. Heat, rain, snow, and cold didn't stop them. And in all, the Snyder Track and Field had 10 runners earn a spot at the USATF Cross Country Junior Olympic Nationals. And we are here today to honor 3 of them who are from our hometown. These 3 runners competed in the National Junior Olympics Championship in Indianapolis in December. And I'm told the weather was brutal, I could imagine. But they were warriors, didn't complain at all. Their coach shared with me that these are exceptional athletes. They're hardworking, resilient. They never complain. They show determination and endurance and represented our region extraordinarily well. So before we honor these runners, I also want to recognize Coach Matt Dow and Sue. You both, hi guys, thank you for being here, who have traveled to Indianapolis with the team. We, of course, recognize that the amazing team of parents, siblings who make it possible for our honorees to compete. So first, I want to welcome Delaney Drexinger from Gettsville, who competed in the 8U Division 2,000-meter race. And after finishing in first place at the regional competition in Pittsburgh, Delaney went on to the place 44th out of a field of 156 runners at the Nationals, and she improved significantly throughout the year. So we have a proclamation here. If you want to come up, and I would ask the board to come out as well. From Williamsville, we have Tyler Harvey, 910 boys in the 3,000-meter race. Finished in an impressive 274 out of a large competitive field. He fought hard throughout the season, demonstrating true grit for a young runner. Taylor, come on up as well. Told I have to read this into the microphone. Don't take this as a sign of disrespect. So also from Williamsville, we want to recognize Max Lyons, who competed in the boys 11 to 12 division, racing 3,000 meters, finishing 198 in one of the largest fields of the day of 368 runners. He finished at 12:38 and bested more than half the competitors. Max, congratulations, and come on up here. Hey, Jess. So congratulations to our runners. Again, it's just a typical sign of this community, what makes it so special. I always appreciate these moments. We get to recognize parents, friends, family, runners, athletes. It's one of the true highlights of this position, and thank you so much for being a part of it. We really thank you for all the work you did. So we're going to move on to now town business, and you're welcome to stay for the. You can also leave. Yeah, it's fine. No offense taken.
Great job. Great job.
It really is the best part. Again, parking so the next piece on our work session, because of the new board changeover we had in January, I've asked Mr. Hopkins to speak in regards to the mixed-use residential project, 1790, 1860, 1920 French Road, and a portion of 999 Campbell Boulevard. This has been presented to the town board in the past. However, because we have newer board members, I thought it's only right that they hear the presentation from the beginning, because this will be on an agenda at some point in the future, and I wanted our members to have all the information possible. Mr. Hopkins, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Supervisor and members of the town board. Sean Hopkins on behalf of the applicant. Also with me is Elliot Lasky. So thank you for this opportunity. I'm going to walk through the presentation quickly, and of course, if anyone has any questions, let me know. This is a pending request to amend the comprehensive plan for 4 contiguous parcels to accommodate a residential project. The site itself, just to acclimate everyone, you can see North French Road on the bottom, the 990 there to the left. This is directly adjacent to the west of the Cross Point Business Park, which is located here. Mr. Lasky and the Samato family have owned this property since 1988. It's currently zoned SA Suburban Agriculture. There's a survey of the project site. So this board did hold a public hearing, as the supervisor indicated in his introductory comments. There's been some changes to the board since then. During that public hearing, you closed it. However, we were not in a position for a decision because we had to work through some wetland-related issues. It is important to note that while several people spoke at that public hearing, none of them were nearby residents or nearby property owners. So we've been through probably 20 to 25 different concept plans over the course of this project during the last several years. We started with something that was much more dense. This is a plan that we presented on June 24th of 2024 to this board. At that point in time, we had a total of 240 residential units, along with some mixed-use buildings out along here. For various reasons, we went back to the drawing board, including wetland impacts, reducing density, et cetera, and we've modified the layout a couple of times since then, but I want everyone to remember this is the layout that we were originally proposing. And this would have consisted of a combination of for sale and for lease units. We were also asked to explore the possibility of this being developed for industrial/research and development. We actually put the project on hold for 2 years during COVID, working with the previous supervisor and the IDA to see if they could attract any users. Unfortunately for us, those efforts were not successful, so we moved forward with the project. This shows a plan that at that time, the maximum we could do there. The problem with this plan is it really does not result in any big enough parcels to accommodate typical industrial research and development. We also think what we're proposing is much more compatible with the neighborhood. So this is the latest and greatest wetland map. The Army Corps of Engineers issued a jurisdictional determination on November 6th of last year. Not surprising, as is the case with every property in the town of Amherst, wetlands have expanded. So we're showing in those dark areas 3 jurisdictional federal wetlands totaling almost 20 acres, which is about 33% of the site. So we've reduced the development acreage based on that. This is the latest DEC map that's been approved by them. And basically, unfortunately for us, because we passed January 5th of 2025, now wetlands that previously were not subject to jurisdiction of the DEC are. So based on all of that, what we're currently proposing is what we believe is very limited impacts to the wetlands: 1.09 acres to federal, 0.43 to state, and 7.31 acres of state regulated upland area, which is not wetland, it's areas that are close to the wetlands. This is a plan we presented to the town board last year on February 3rd, just to bring you back where this last got left off. At that point in time, we were showing a reduction from 225 residential units to 125 residential units. We had townhomes located here, 36 lots for single-family homes, and then finally 32 apartments here tucked against the 990. Also showing more than half of this site as permanent open space, 33.71 acres. We were also asked again to look at industrial, and again, because of the increase in the wetlands, we went from 6 potential sites to 4 potential sites, all of which are very small and none of which could accommodate a large-scale distribution or warehouse center on this site. And this is the final plan, the plan that's in front of you now. Basically, we're showing, first of all, 2 roadway connections to North French Road. That's required by the fire code. All the infrastructure on site will be privately owned and privately maintained, which is good for the town, meaning the town does not have to take the fiscal responsibility for the long-term ownership and maintenance of the roadway, et cetera. We've reduced the density once again from 125 units to 88 units. And we've made a big modification based on changes in market conditions over the past 5 years. This will now consist of only for sale units. No more units for lease, everything is for sale. We're showing 28 single-family homes here, where there was previously townhomes, 36 additional single-family homes on slightly larger lots here, on property that would be zoned R3, and then finally 12 two-story or 12 two-unit buildings up here against the 990. But again, those will be for sale, not for lease. We're continuing to provide 33.71 acres of permanent open space, and ultimately we'd be willing to deed restrict that to ensure it will never be developed in the future. So currently, what does the comp plan say? The comp plan, since it was adopted almost 20 years ago now, on this site designates this as recreation, open space, and greenways, and a portion as industrial. We feel this was a misclassification because of the fact that it's privately owned property. To designate as recreation, open space, greenways would basically would mean no development would be allowed. And then a small portion contiguous to Cross Point is also designated as industrial office. Aerial photographs. So directly next door is the Cross Point Business Park. There's still some additional land available there. Recognizing the need that there's no longer the demand there once was for office buildings, warehouse distribution, industrial uses, Cross Point sought and rezoned a portion of the property highlighted in yellow directly next door to us to DC5 to accommodate apartments. And that was approved by the town board 2022. Just to show you where that parcel is, and literally our site is right here. It's also important to note that obviously that's what they do. They have the expertise. They have certified shovel-ready sites available there, and any additional development, those type of uses we envision would occur there, along with the apartments out along North French Road. So we think there is ample justification for this based on the housing goals set forth in the comprehensive plan that basically recognizes there is need for additional housing. We think at this time, given the dramatic shortage of lots available for new single-family homes, not only in the town of Amherst, but every community in Western New York, that making these changes, dramatically reducing the density, limiting the project for sale units only, makes a lot of sense. We are providing two different types or sizes of residential lots. One would most likely accommodate more patio homes, which are attractive to empty nesters, seniors, and then the remainder of the lots would be typical R3 lots. We did provide an economic analysis prepared by Don Griebner, and basically his conclusion was that it makes more sense from an economic perspective for the town to develop this as residential as opposed to R&D. And then finally, as is the case with any discretionary decision, this is subject to seeker. We've provided extensive documentation, and we believe that you would be in a position to issue a negative declaration, and then finally approve the requested comp plan amendment. I do want to note we updated the traffic analysis. A letter was prepared by our traffic engineer, and not surprisingly, based on the reduction of density now for the third time or the fourth time, this project at this time will generate very little traffic, and our traffic engineer has not recommended any additional analysis. So if there's any questions about how we got to where we are now or what we're currently proposing, either myself or Mr. Lasky would welcome the opportunity to address them. Otherwise, we are hopeful that at your next meeting, you could proceed with step one of many steps, which would be the issuance of a negative declaration pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act and the approval of the pending request to amend the comp plan. Thank you.
So Sean, I just want to make some clarification in terms of questions. I know public hearings closed on this.
Yeah.
The units you're proposing on here are going to be for sale.
Every single unit now is for sale.
For sale. And then this request is for the comp plan amendment, and there'll be further decisions made on this parcel as it progresses.
Right. So if the board approves the comp plan amendment, that's the first of many steps. Then we have to come back for a rezoning application. And then ultimately, this would also need to go in front of the planning board for 3 additional public hearings in connection with the request for subdivision approval.
Okay.
So it's a very long process. We didn't want to waste the board's time in the end of 2025 until we had very accurate wetland information, which we now have.
Okay. So I will, this is not a public, this is not one of the public conversation hearing, yes, but anybody from the board who has questions in regards to what Mr. Hopkins talked about in February, who looks for clarification, can do that now.
If I may, one quick one.
Sure.
I understand that there's a long process between now and when you actually begin putting shovels in the ground. Is there, but still, I'm curious, when do you think you might begin construction?
If I had to guess today, it would be the earliest would be late this year to start infrastructure. The goal of Mr. Lasky and Mr. Samato would be to do it as soon as possible. We know there's demand for this type of housing in the town.
Yes, I do get calls, and thank you.
Any other members from the board who have further questions for Mr. Hopkins?
Hi, Sean. Nice to see you. I know we're not at site plan review. I understand, Supervisor. How many of these units do you anticipate seeking the condo tax exemption for? Just the duplexes, or?
I don't think we. Elliot, give your name for the record.
Elliot Lasky. All the units are going to be for sale.
Talk into the mic if you could, please.
It is a private road. We will have to form a condo association with the Attorney General's office. All the units are going to be included under that association because there's common lands that have to be maintained. There may be different classes between the patio homes and the townhouses, but they will all be under one umbrella with the same AG filing. And right now, we have at least 4 major building companies that are interested in acquiring the site, aside from my own. I'm wearing a developer hat here, So, but we have a lot of interest, and as you probably well know, the town of Amherst is almost out of land, so.
And I love ownership. So I'm very happy to hear ownership. I'm very concerned that we're going to have $750,000 patio homes. or
There's
something
no,
like that.
there's no rentals on this site. We
Ownership
looked
is
at the
great.
shift in the marketplace, and it's ownership only.
Do you have further questions?
That's all for now.
Does anybody else have further questions for Mr. Hopkins regarding this parcel? Sean, thank you so much for the update to this. We will work to get this comp plan on the docket in the near future.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, and everyone enjoy the rest of your day.
Next, in our work session meeting, prior to the town board meeting agenda items, we have a presentation by Mr. Steve Bengar regarding some changes to the rules of order.
Good afternoon, Town Board members. I'm going to keep this very brief. I know I was given 15 minutes, but since this has been vetted by the entire board, by the town clerk, and by the director of planning, as well as everybody in my office, this has gone through quite a process already, so I'm only going to give some highlights. Originally, the adoption of these rules appears to have been in 1988. The next time they were adopted or changed was October 7th of 2019, as far as I could find. What we have done is some rewriting, a lot of tweaking, and a lot of clarification. First, the regular meetings have been tweaked, so the language indicates that the regular meetings will be established at reorganizational meetings as opposed to a particular date, which is how it was done in the past. We are moving a meeting now. To move a meeting now would require a 3/5 majority vote. Special meetings now reads, they shall be for business that requires attention in advance of the next regular meeting. Not really a change, just clarifying. Notice of town board meetings, whether regular or special, we've gotten rules spelled out better. It requires following open meetings law, of course, and specifies where notices shall go in the future without, which wasn't fully laid out before. The only real change to notice is per the open meetings law. Really, we're making sure that everything's covered by the open meetings law. Conduct of meetings, basically we shuffled around some of the items and placed timeframes with regard to those. Council reports themselves have 3 minutes. Council resolutions are not limited as to time. Public expression, there'll be one session limited to 3 minutes per person, and shall include non-public hearing agenda items. So it's, again, a clarification that already existed. Agenda. There's some new procedures, but generally it's the same process. There is an entirely new section on decorum that spells out how board members, town staff, and the public shall conduct themselves at board meetings. There's some better definitions of abstentions and recusals, and then there's a little more detail on public hearings. I could go line by line, but honestly, that covers it all. It's been on the website now since last Wednesday, and I don't have much more to add unless somebody had a particular question, considering the board's vetted this, very much so.
Steve, I have no questions for you. I know you've been pretty open and honest about having candid conversations with members of the board regarding the update of the rules of order. I think everybody here has had a chance to speak with Steve about any situations you have. If you have further questions for Steve, you can ask them now. If no questions, then no, nothing? Okay, Steve, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now move into the public hearings for this evening's meeting. We'll start with Resolution 2026-72, a public hearing for the parking restriction on the east side. Dan, do we know if Chris will be here to present that today? Is that right? Okay. No, that's fine. Dan, we're good. Good. And then what about Resolution 2026-73? Be here as well. Okay. Stop sign as well. So Resolution 2026-103. Dan, do you know who's presenting that in terms of the rezoning for Snowberry? Okay. We have no personal appointments this evening. So under the consent agenda items for councilmember resolution, none for myself, none for the deputy supervisor, but Councilmember Zukawa has the fee waiver for the Skate with a Cop Resolution 2026-104. Are there any issues with adding this to the consent agenda? Resolution 2026-105, the installation of no through traffic signage on Addison Ave. Any issues with adding this to consent agenda? Resolution 2026-106, the Amherst Government Financial Advisory Board. Any issues with adding this to the consent agenda? No. Resolution 2026, under Councilmember Davis, 107, the appointment of the Amherst Library Board of Trustees. Any issues with adding this to the town agenda, to the consent agenda? None. Resolution 2026-108 is going to require a voice vote, so we're going to hold this until this evening. Resolution 2026-109. This does not require a voice vote.
Yes,
It's setting the public hearing.
you're setting a public.
Setting the public hearing. So Resolution 2026-109. Yeah. Adding to consent agenda. Any issues with that? Resolution 2026-110. Any issues with adding to consent? None. Resolution 2026-111. Any issues with adding that to consent? Resolution 2026-112, amendments to the Town Board Rules of Order. Any issues with adding that to consent agenda? None. Resolution 2026-113, the travel request for the Association of Towns. Any issues with adding that to the consent agenda? None. Resolution 2026-114, new firefighters for the Main Transit Fire Department. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? None. Resolution 2026-115 is the amusement license for 4224 Sheridan Drive, Amherst, New York. Any issues with adding this to the consent agenda? Resolution 2026-116 is the extension of CRS 6066. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-117, the extension of CRS 6085. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Building maintenance. Resolution 2026-118, change order, CRS 6018. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-109, emergency door repair. Was there a Scribner's error on this one? No?
Yeah, this was one that I was, the account number on the resolution for the budget account number is
Okay.
the type.
116 and 117, the numbers are wrong.
The numbers are wrong. On one, from resolutions 116 and 117?
The numbers should be for 116 instead of 177, 5356. And for 117 should, instead of 2645, should be 5393.
We have to go back to 116. Steve, right? Is that resolution 116 and 117?
That's correct.
Okay.
Steve, can you say that one more time? I'm so sorry.
So 116 should read 5356 as the number. 117 should read 5393 as the number.
Can,
Is it the first number or the second number?
The number at the end.
Number at the end. Okay, for both of them?
Yes,
Both have two numbers in the same.
yeah, okay. Are we okay to call that a Scribner's error?
I believe so, and still do them as consent.
Okay. Is there any issues with the board adding the 116, 117 under consent with the Scribner's error? None. Tim, where did I leave off? 119. So the emergency door repair, Amherst Senior Center, CRS 6098. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-120 is the budget transfers and amendments. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Contract compliance, Resolution 2026-121 is the extension of bid 2025005 Town Towing. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-122 is the award of bid for pool chemicals, CRS 6100. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-123 is award of bid 2026-001. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-124 is the award of bid for 2026-003 townwide doors and windows. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-125 is the award of bid for 2026-005 dump box. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-126, the amendment agreement for the RFP 2025-09. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-127 is the miscellaneous small equipment parts, CRS 6107, 6110, 6111, 6112, 6113. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-128 is the Amherst Town Justice Drug Court, an analyst to attend the NYA TCP conference. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Moving to Human Resources, Resolution 2026-129 is the File Clerk Facilities Department. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-130 is a Police Captain from the Police Department. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-131, Police Lieutenant, Police Department. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-132, Municipal Training for Compliance Officer. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-133 is the Police Attendant, part-time. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-134 is Director of Emergency Services. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-135, the Gender-Based Violence and Workplace Policy. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? IT, Resolution 2026-136, GIS Services, CRS 6097. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Under the Planning Department, Resolution 2026-137 to adopt the 2026 CDBG Home Annual Action Plan. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Under the Police, Resolution 2026-138. We're going to remove that today. We're going to remove that because of some funding issues from the sponsor. Yep. Resolution 2026, so withdrawn. That's going to be withdrawn, 138. Resolution 2026-139, vocational training for the Williamsville Central School District. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Under Senior Services, Resolution 2026-140 is the Kaleida Health Sponsorships, CRS 5663. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda?
No, I just want to say kudos to Melissa on this. I don't know if this is a new thing, but what a wonderful do to get a sponsorship there and bring in some revenue. Excellent. Yeah, I like that.
Resolution 2026-141 is a request to accept donation from the Williamsville Rotary Foundation. Any issues with adding that to our agenda? The Amherst Center for Senior Services Code of Conduct. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-143 is the CIP amendment. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Youth and Recreation, Resolution 2026-144, polling place lease agreement, CRS 6108. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-145, polling place lease agreement for CRS 6109. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? So under Communications, we have Communication 2026-12, the Amherst Symphony Orchestra fee waiver. I recommend we approve that and send it to the clerk's office. Just consent. Any issues with the consent agenda for communication for the orchestra fee waiver? None. Notice of claim, Communication 2026 from Merchants Insurance Group. Recommend we file with the town attorney's office. Communication 2026-14, notice of claim. Recommend we file with the town attorney's office. Notice of civil opening case for Resolution 2026-15. Recommend we file with the town attorney's office. Public improvement permits. Resolution 2026-146, the public improvement permit 3160 sanitary sewer. Recommend we file with town attorney, town engineering. Just consent? Okay. Just consent agenda. Any issues with adding that to our consent agenda? Resolution 2026-147, also recommend we approve it with consent. Any issues with that? None? Okay, so that will conclude our work session for this afternoon. We have a pretty extensive executive session we'll be holding with multiple different department heads. So we're going to start with Jen Adams and Steve, but on the hook and on the on-deck circle is Bob and Zach, followed with Bob and Zach, followed with Emily, followed with Bob and Zach. So we have, and followed by the chief of police. So we have quite an array of people in our executive session. I will make a motion now that we retreat to executive session.